Hello. Today we're going to take my area project and actually do the math with it. In prior installments I built this project. We also regionalized this project so that we could have Spanish output if necessary. Today we're going to take the length times the width, display that particular answer in this box here. We'll also check to make sure that there is actually text in the box, and we will verify that the text in the box is greater than 0 before we do any math. Finally, we'll get the clear button to work. That's pretty ambitious, but if you're developing Android applications, you've written code like this in the past. First thing I'll do is I'll make sure everything has a name. There's a number of ways I can do that. Probably the fastest is go to my text. So that object is known as length box. I've got width box, calc button, clear button. This I'm not using, so I don't have to give it a name as Android called it the imaginative text view 3. And then this one, we've got LBL area. However you name your objects is fine as long as you understand it and somebody else coming after you can understand it. I could have named that cucumber, but it didn't mean anything because I'm not displaying cucumbers. I'm displaying the area, so call it area. The LBL is an old school prefix for label. This is just letting me know it's an output label for label. I need my buttons to respond, so I'm going to do so using the trick that I like. I'm going to select my calculate button, and I'll find the onClick property, and I'll give it a name. Something like calc area button, calc area click, whatever you like. I'll call it calc area click. Whatever you use, remember, and I'm going to copy it so I don't forget it. You're going to need it when you go to the code for this object. So I'm going to open up my Java file. And I'm going to create the event view or the event handler for the button. They're all public void. Whatever you called the object in the properties box. And then it requires a parameter of type view, and everybody does v. It wants android.view.view, and since we're in Android Studio, you can type that in, or you can take the shortcut and Alt Enter, and you'll saw it adds it in for you. That's a handy shortcut that most IDEs have. So this is my button. It allows me to respond. Whenever I click the object, the code inside of here will run. So what we need to do now is we need to strip off that screen, get the text out of the length box, get the text out of the width box, and then do the math. To do so, we need some variables. I'm going to create one variable top for each one of the text boxes and for the label output. They can be private, protected, public, whatever you like in this case. The first one's an edit text. Second is also an edit text. Again, it's yelling at me because I haven't imported yet. Each one of these is android.widget. I'm going to type it. And I'll use the star so I get all of them at one time. So these are my three objects. I now have variables for them. I'll check to make sure that they make sense. Length, width. I have width, height. I should change this to be length to match my code. I now need to connect these from code to the on-screen app, and I'll do so by assigning them. I use find view by E, and I'll pull up the mysterious R. R is just simply everything on your resources. So I'm doing width. So I'll do the width box first. It doesn't matter the order you do them in, as long as you do them. All that these do is they map the text width object inside a code to the text width box object on the screen. You have to typecast them because otherwise they just turn an object. This will convert them to the proper object. Okay, so we have the objects. Do a quick save. I can now work with them. Since I made them class level variables, I can access them throughout each one of my methods. It's very intelligent to use them up here. That way you don't have to keep redefining them and remapping them all the time. I'm going to start by assuming my user is intelligent and is going to put numbers in that are greater than 0. So I need a couple variables. I'll initialize them to 0 to first. Not necessarily required, but a nice way to quickly get your variables built. The math, of course, is length times width, your classic formula for a rectangle or area of a rectangle. And now I need to output that. Set text area plus quote quote. A nice simple way to make that into a string is just simply add in the null string. If I were to run this right now, I'd get the exciting number of 0 in my output. It's already there, so it wouldn't really change too much. What I need to do is I need to convert this stuff in width and length into the doubles. And I'll do that with parsing. I use the getText property. I have to convert it to a string. This will work great as long as somebody types a string or a number in that box. If they leave it blank or type a word, it'll throw an error, which we'll have to handle as an exception. Copy and paste is your friend as long as you do it right. Alright, let's see what we've got. I've got my emulator already running. I'll run my code. Give this a minute. Blanks out. Alright, there it is. Let's see if it works. The length of 10, width of 5, area 50. How about that? I can do math. Excellent. Now, if we type in something like -5, it won't let me because I used a number box. If I type in L's, it won't let me because I used a number box. But if I leave it blank, it crashes. So we have to make sure is that this thing is not empty. I'll start by doing the smart thing. I'll try catch around it. Some programmers will try catch around both of these and throw one error. You could also try catch individually. Both have their merits. By try catching around both of them, you only need one try catch, but you don't have as much flexibility. If you try catch around each one, you have to do more lines of code, but you can give better error messages. I'm going to give a consistent error message to each one. To do so, I'm going to go to my values and add a string. Okay, so string name error, boxes cannot be empty. If you're going to give somebody an error message, give them a very useful error message. A couple weeks ago, I had a student came up with the error message from Microsoft. The error message was -2 billion. It was totally useless. It ended up being an out of disk space error. That would have been a useful error. Boxes cannot be empty is pretty clear. It tells people that the number of boxes can't be empty. So I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm going to use that. So I'll surround these two with a try. And I'll pick up any exception here, even though it's a number format exception. I'm just going to pick up any exception. It's kind of a cheat way to do that, but in this case it will definitely work. And what I want to do is I need to catch the error and return out. But I'm going to yell at the person beforehand. So what I want to get here is I need to get the error string I just created. If I just type error here, it doesn't know what I'm talking about. It yells at me. To do this, I'm going to have to create another variable in my class section and link it to the resources. So I'm going to scroll up. Again, it doesn't know what that is, so I'll enter it, and it's happy. And adds it in the content res resources. These resources will be anything that's in these values file. My variable res equal get resources. This now maps res to these values in the file. So I can access the individual colors, all the strings I have, dimensions, whatever I have over here is now accessible by name. So come back down to my set area. Res.getString. And what it wants is an integer. It wants the numeric version of that string. Well, they are countable. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a horrible way to code. It's, if you go back, if you move something around, you get some very unexpected output. The better way is to use the R again. r.string.error. What this does now is it'll create the exception, and it'll put our error message in the screen. I'm going to return here so the rest of this doesn't occur. Save it. Bring this up. I'm going to run it again. Yeah, use that emulator. Give it a moment. Alright, so make sure it works again. 4 and 5. 20, yay. 4 and nothing. Boxes cannot be, I need some space there, or I need a smaller error. But it clearly doesn't die, and it gives the user my error message. Alright, so let's shrink that error down a little bit. So go back to my strings. That's a simple error as well. Enter numbers. Now the next time I run this, if I make a mistake, it'll say enter numbers. Okay, so I've gotten the box to respond to my object. I click on it. I strip the screen. I parse it. If there's an error, I catch an exception. I yell at the user, and I kick out. Program's working reasonably well. I'll take a quick look at my on-screen objects. When I built these objects, I chose a signed number, which meant I couldn't put a negative in there. Alright, so moving on now, I'm going to get the clear object to work. It's similar to what we did before. I need to set the on click. And I'll call the method clear screen. And I'll copy it so I don't forget. Go back to my Java code, create another public void. And all I need to do here is clear out the last user's entries, clear out the answer, and set the focus. I use set text to empty it. I could also, there's a clear object I can use. I like to keep my code simple and consistent. So I use the same method each 3 times. .00 is how the program starts. I reset it back to where it came from. And now I'm going to set the focus so the user doesn't have to click. Length is my first object. Okay, it's request focus in Android. The focus is whichever object on screen is currently active or clicked on. Every environment has a different focus. Request focus, get focus, set focus. Java's is pretty traditionally request focus. It's called request focus because it asks the Java environment, hey, please put the cursor in this box. And Java will whenever it's good and ready. So clear screen will now wipe out the stuff on the screen and put the cursor back in my original box. Let's watch that. Alright, so we clear out, so I'll do a length of 12.5, a width of 23.5. Calculates, beautiful, clear, and notice where my cursor jumps right up to. By setting the focus, you perform a little favor for your user because they don't have to click clear and then click in the length box. You put them back where they should be. Alright, so this particular video walked through parsing numbers off a screen, handling simple exceptions, doing a little bit of math, and clearing out the box. It also demonstrated how to use your resource strings in Java code by creating the resource variable, mapping it to the resources, and then using it with the .get string. All right, thank you very much.